people should just realize that I'm not going to have any sympathy for any of those things, when someone says it's difficult, because there is a lot of things in life that are difficult. And you have to ask yourself the question right off the top, are you going to be one of those guys that are going to go and back off every time something is difficult? Or do you want to be one of those guys that says, look, it doesn't matter if it's easy or difficult or most difficult, I'm going to go and crush through it. That's me. That's the person that I want to be, and I'm going to prove it to myself, and I'm going to prove it to the rest of the world. So yeah, there are certain things that are difficult. It's difficult for people to have a routine, but they just have to go and do that, and they should just work on it, where they go and say, do something very simple. I'm going to go and get up every morning at, let's say, an hour early, before they normally get up, and just work on that. And then the next time they work on it and say, okay, I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to go and make my coffee or my tea or whatever, and I'm going to read papers, even though maybe I haven't read the paper yet in the last 10 years. Just add that to you, and don't even ask about it should or should or not. That's the key thing about the routine, is that you don't ask yourself, should I or shouldn't I? You just do it.
In order to be complete, and that's when you really have a 100% chance at being successful. When you have a complete situation, that means that you have developed your body, meaning your health, your strength, your energy, and all of that makes you much more positive, right? Because that's when you wake up, when you feel strong, and you feel fit, and you ride the bicycle in the morning, the whole world looks much more bright. So the training of the body, extremely important. The training of the mind, extremely important. That's why I say to people, you got to educate yourself, you got to read something every day, you got to learn a new language, you got to just always improve and look at what can you do to improve your business or your life in general. So to develop the mind, and then to develop the spiritual side and the soul, extremely important also. So if we put those three things together, we have total completion. And this is why the physical training, and I'm not talking about wanting to win Mr. Olympia, no. We're talking about just take some light weights and do your reps. Pump up the body, and get some blood in there. Then go and run. Go and run the stairs. Go and exercise. Go to a yoga class. Do some weight training. Or when you have kids, go out and play sports. Just go football playing and go soccer playing and tennis playing and this, whatever you can. That is what creates kind of life in you, and therefore more enthusiasm, and you have a much more positive outlook in life.
The bottom line is that you can train any time of the day. We learned that very quickly. And so I kind of continued on with the tradition. I did 2 hours of working out in the morning and then 2 hours in the evening. And that routine was automatic. I didn't even think about it. My entire time in my bodybuilding career, I always trained twice a day, and never ever did I ask myself the question, should I go today and do the evening training? Or should I get up in the morning? I always got up at 5, 6 o'clock, always. And at 7 o'clock I worked out.
The bigger your goals are, and the more outrageous they are, or especially if someone else has never done it, then the people will always say, this is crazy, this will never happen, you cannot do that, it's impossible, and all those things. And so, we have heard all the naysayers and everything like that, and you just cannot pay any attention to that, because it's just the way it is. And so I always feel like, if I can see it, and if I can believe it, then I can achieve it.
I have a routine which basically means they do something where you don't have to think much, if at all. I believe that routines are very important. It's kind of like the foundation, like to a house or to a building or to anything. So that means that if I get up in the morning, part of my routine is to get up in the morning at, let's say, 5 o'clock. Then I make my coffee, I feed the animals, I go and read the paper, go through my iPad, see if there are any important messages. So that's part of the routine. I don't even think about that. Part of the routine is that I have my bike already mounted on the back of my car. I drive down and then take it off and I ride with the bike to the gym in the morning at 6 o'clock or so. Then I go to the gym and I work out 45 minutes to an hour, so that's also routine. It's always kind of the same thing, and to do arms and deltoids one day, and the next day I do chest and back, and calves and all this stuff I do every day, and form a little bit, and abs, of course, every day, and then it repeats itself, and I do this the whole week. And then what is also routine is that at night I do some extra cardiovascular work before I have dinner. So I go in my home gym here, I go upstairs and go for half an hour and do the arm cycle, or the treadmill, or the life cycle, or something like that is cardiovascular. And the idea is to burn enough calories so that when I eat dinner then, which is very minimal, that it is, I don't have to really worry about calories or gaining weight, because the older you get, the faster you gain weight, and the more the body picks up because your metabolism is slow. So you have to be very careful with that. So those are kind of routine things that I do. And you try to add as many of those routine things as possible, because you do them without ever thinking about it. And that's what we need to do. There's certain things that we need to do that is supposed to be a routine, that's supposed to be kind of part of your daily schedule without you having to think about it. And so that's basically my kind of routine, and I'm a big believer in that. I think the biggest mistake is that you go to the gym and you go through the motion, but you don't really have your mind inside the muscle. So when you do a bicep curl, I can't just stand there like this. Yeah, you can. I've seen the guys training with me also 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, but they look like shit. And why did they look like shit? It's because they didn't concentrate. They did the same exercise, but they stood like this, and then they looked sideways, kind of like they were bored, because they didn't even know why they were training. They were not inside that bicep or inside that lat when you do the rowing and you pull back and you flex the upper back and the center back, and then you let it down and you stretch it and you think about that the wing is coming out now, or like a curtain is opening up. We always thought about the curtain, right? This is when we did our lat spread. So you got to think about those things. When you do calf raises, and I do my donkey calf raises, I got to be inside the calves and to make them split, to make them open up when those guys sit on top of it. First 3 guys, then I have one guy jump off, and with 2 guys, then I have another guy jump off, then there's one guy left on my back sitting and doing donkey raises. Some people looked at this and said, this guy's doing some kinky thing. But anyway, there was something else. There was the strangers, they didn't know what we were doing. But I tell you got to be inside the muscle. The same is when you do chest. When I'm finished with the bench press, immediately I step in front of the mirror and I flex. I hit the shot. I want to see everything, how it works, right? And the same is with the cable crosses. When you do afterwards cable crosses, I want to always see what happens. Because I was so enthusiastic about, achieving my vision and turning my vision into reality, and winning one championship after the next, there was always excitement and enthusiasm there. So when I went into the gym, I put my gym bag down and I immediately attacked the weights. There was many times we started out by doing maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes of ab work in the beginning to warm up, to do maybe 500 Roman chair sit-ups or something like that to warm up, and then we got right into it, or we go right into the whole thing. But it was right away, warm-up set, then the next weight up, boom, boom, all the way to the top until you just can't do it. And supersetting, everything was always supersetting, and 3 pumped sets and 4 sets in a row, 5 sets in a row. So it really changed in what exercise we did, but it was always all out. And like I said, the training partner was always responsible to challenge you at all times. So that was the thing. I challenged my training partners, if it was Frank Zane, if it was Dave Draper, if it was Sergio Oliva, whoever the training partner was in any given moment, we challenged each other kind of in a fun way, but there was challenge there so that you don't slack off, so you don't give yourself a break.
There's also this misconception from people that you are certain things, meaning some people have this misconception that I am what I possess. In other words, I am my possessions. And so they link their self-confidence to their possessions. And so they're constantly trying to acquire more and more possessions, thinking that's where they get their self-confidence from. That's how they're defined as a person. I am my possessions. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's a hollow way to try to gain self-confidence by possessing things. Nothing wrong with going for material possessions. I have all kinds of them. But I don't link my confidence to those possessions, nor am I deluded into thinking if I could just possess more things, then I'll feel better about myself. So this is a mistake. There's a flawed thought. Number one flawed thought, I am my possessions. Second flawed thought, I am my accomplishments. In other words, my self-confidence is only linked to what I accomplish. So because I haven't accomplished certain things, I don't have that certain title, that certain award, that certain recognition, I don't believe in myself. I'm riddled with self-doubt. I'm defined by my accomplishments. The difficult thing about that is now all your life you're going to have to accomplish more and more and more in order to feel self-confident and eliminate self-doubt. You are not your accomplishments. You are not your possessions. You are you. You are perfect. You are beautiful. You were born to do something great with your life. If you're a person of faith like me, you believe God made you in His image and likeness and wants you to do something great with your life, not that you are your possessions, not that you are your accomplishments. And this is the social media insidious influence it has in our lives. People think, I don't feel good about myself. I've got this self-doubt. The gateway to me feeling more self-confidence is if I could possess more things or if I could accomplish more things. Yes, having nice things will make you feel better about yourself. Yes, accomplishing things certainly is a reinforcement for self-confidence, but it's not the pathway to getting it. The pathway to getting it is doing something great with your life where you keep the promises you make to yourself and acknowledge this self-doubt, this self-thought, this negative talk isn't even mine. It was given to me when it was impossible for me to defend myself as a child, and maybe it even happened in adolescence, and probably some of those incidences have happened for you as an adult. And these ones as an adult are like that thing I said earlier. Oh, it's another time I reinforced the table. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not prepared enough. I'm not the right race. I'm not the right gender. I don't come from the right kind of family. I don't have the right education. And we find these references as adults to reinforce these self-doubting beliefs we were given by somebody else as a child. Flawed belief is that you are your possessions. You are your accomplishments. Third flawed belief, I am what other people say I am. Wrong. You are not what other people say you are, good or bad. I see too many people that if someone says something negative about them, they believe that's who they are. This is the flawed third belief. I am my possessions, I am my accomplishments, and you know what? Or I am what other people say I am. Let me be clear with you. You are not what other people tell you you are. It wasn't true when you were 18 months old, 5 years old, or 55 years old. You are not what other people say you are. So stop letting that dictate your self-confidence or fill you with self-doubt. And for the record, you are also not the good things people tell you you are all the time. Don't live for likes. Don't live for comments on your social media. Don't do things in your life just to solicit someone saying something great about you. It's a cheap, shallow, hollow way to try to gain self-esteem and self-confidence. It's fleeting, it's short-term, and it's needy. In fact, the fact that it is a necessity for you to get liked, to get people to say good things, to get comments on your social media, or to do so in your presence indicates a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence, because we know self-confidence is an internal game where we keep the promises we make to ourselves. The fourth type of flawed thinking is I am what I look like. In other words, if I don't look a certain way, like what the magazine says I should, or social media says I should, if I don't look like these people, I shouldn't have self-confidence. And that's ridiculous. I can tell you straightforwardly, you're beautiful as you are. Especially the ladies listening to this or watching this. The world is constantly trying to get you to believe you're not enough. You don't look right. You should lose this weight. You should gain this. This should be smaller. That should be bigger. Whatever it might be. They're constantly messaging women, you're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. You are what you look like. And this is true for men as well. Let me tell you straightforwardly, you are not what you look like. You are your soul. You are your spirit. You are your gifts. You are the contributions you make. You are your intentions. At some point, you got to stop negotiating the price and decide your will to win is not for sale. Here's the truth. Most people's dreams can be bought. with enough failure, with enough rejection, they will sell their children's dreams. They can't still fight. They can get a little bit, but when it gets a little too hot, they go, boom, sold, buy the dream, you can have it. It's not worth it to me. And their will to win is buyable. You can buy it with a little success or a whole bunch of failure. Most people will sell their will to win. Some of you have sold it because you're making a little bit of money. You don't work like you did when you were making nothing. You're not after it like when you were broke. Now you got your 50, 100, 200, 300, 400 measly dollars a year, $1 million a year. Not to be rude, but that would not pay my jet fuel. And you think you're making a lot of money compared to what? But you sold your win for a little couple success. Some of you will sell your win for some failure. You're probably buyable. But if you decide at this meeting, my will cannot be bought. I don't care how long it takes, you can't buy this dude out. I'll keep fighting for my family. I'm the one. I'm gonna change my family tree forever. That's the decision. Decide now. You're gonna keep negotiating the price, or can you not be bought? I believe the greatest talent that you can draw a line through all the people who have won. Not all the people that win in business or life are unbelievable transfers of energy. Not all of them can close. Not all of them can persuade. Not all of them are great listeners. Not all of them even dealt well with adversity. They did that the majority of the time. But all of them have in common, they developed the talent, and yes, it is a talent, it is a skill of not quitting. I don't think most of you right now that are struggling in your business life right now are giving yourself enough credit for this incredible talent you're developing, which is resiliency, which is the ability not to quit. Listen to what I'm telling you. As somebody has built multiple different companies, I've coached some of the top athletes, entertainers, business people, and politicians in the world. And I'm telling you that even in my own team, when I hire people, I look for resiliency, and a notch above that is the talent, is the skill of not quitting as the number one thing that I look for. And many of you right now listening to this possess the number one skill necessary to win and don't give yourself any credit for it, which means it's not helping build your confidence. It's not going to the bank of crediting for your identity. And so although you possess this incredible ability that so many people in the world don't have and don't possess, you have it and you don't value it. You don't prize it. You don't give yourself credit for having it. It ought to be where you draw the majority of your confidence from. The ability to say, I don't quit. I'm resilient. I own the number one skill, the number one talent required to eventually win. I already have. I can't quit. You'd have to kill me to get me out of chasing my dream. I'm going to tell you right now, either you're going to control your time or your time's going to control you. Either you are going to dictate the terms of your life or you're going to be someone who reacts and responds throughout their life. This device right here can both speed up time in your life or it can slow it down. It's not always a speed tool. So one of the tips that I've covered before but not enough people implement that I promise you is a quality of max out performers that relates to their time is they control it. They do not react and respond. They dictate the terms of their life most of the time. And that means this: when you wake up in the morning, the greatest thing you could do for yourself is not touch or look at this device for 30 minutes to an hour after awakening. So that when you wake up, you take control of your time. You control the time. You control the beginning of the day. You get clear, you meditate, you pray, you stretch, you think, you go through a gratitude exercise. You control the first 30 minutes of your day. It sets a tone that I'm in charge of my time, not what enters this. If the first thing you do is grab this now dictates the term of your day. This controls my day. What hits this, what email, what text, what call hits this, what Instagram post hit this, this controls me. It controls my time. But if you can stay away from it for the first 30 minutes to an hour, you send a message to your brain, to yourself, that you control time, that this day is on your terms. And again, you stack up a day, a week, a month, a year, 5 years of a lifetime of you controlling and dictating the terms of your life for just the first 30 minutes to an hour every day. It will revolutionize your life. You have an acceptance that problems and challenges are going to exist. Isn't it probably important that you learn to enjoy the process of overcoming them and solving them? I think all the time, how can I enjoy this? I think, man, what are all the great things that are going to happen when this is solved? Whose lives are going to be better when this is solved? How much better is my body, my fitness, my faith, my family, my life, other people's lives when this problem is solved, depending on what the problem and challenge is. And that helps me enjoy the process. I also remind myself this problem is helping me grow. It's in existence because I'm making progress in my life. So all these things fit a meaning that help us make the best decisions possible. Cool as you might think my life is, I have a recurring nightmare that I've had for 26 years. I'm somehow walking outside a stadium, a baseball stadium, and I can hear them announcing the starting lineup to a baseball game. I'm not kidding you. And I can hear the music playing and they say, leading off in center field, number 8. And I know it's me. I played center field here and I led off, right? Number 8, Eddie Milet. And I hear him yelling, but I can't get in the stadium. I'm like, I'm supposed to be playing, right? Like I'm supposed to be, and I cannot get in the door. Like I'm running around the stadium. Look, I'm in my uniform. I'm in. They're like, we don't know who you are, man. I'm like, no, you need to let me in. They just announced me. I'm the starting center fielder, man. They're like, I'm sorry, man. We don't know who you are. You can't play. And then every single time I have the dream, I lap around the stadium trying to get back in to the game. Except I can't get in. This is a true story. I'm 47 years old. I had this dream last month. I had it the month before that. I had it the month before that. Okay? And then I wake up. And it's a nightmare. Every time I'm in the dream, I know I'm having it, but I can't get out of it. And the reason I have that dream is because I miss playing so much. And the real reason I have the dream is because when I was here, listen to me, okay? When I was here, I did not give it everything I had. Over and over and over again, you must be working on how great you think you are, what you're worthy of, what you deserve. Because you get out, the way you change your identity is this. You change your identity, listen to me on this, remember this when I leave. You change your identity because it's based on what you believe you're worth, what you believe you deserve. We take it more serious, we have more fun, we're laughing our asses off, but we are out working everybody in the conference, everybody in the country. We hit the gym that way, we stretch that way. You become a team nobody wants to play. Now, if you did that, you know what starts to happen to this team? You start to believe you deserve stuff you probably aren't good enough to get. You will literally win games you're not supposed to win. This team outworks everybody in their at-bat. They battle on every pitch when they're in the bat. I want you to think about that for a minute. I mean, what if you didn't give away a single freaking pitch all year batting? Not one dude. You grind every pitch, you battle every pitch. What if someone would have told me this when I was here? Battle every pitch, man. Every pitch is a fight. Every pitch is a battle. It's you, it's a team, but it's you and the dude with the wrong lid on the mound. Battle his ass. You're going to get what you're looking for. So if you're looking for success, you're looking for happiness, you're looking for prospects, you're looking for recruits or clients, I'm telling you, the more you're consciously looking for those things, you're going to see them. When you're looking to win, you're looking for victory. Same time, if you're looking to be victimized, if you're looking to be looked past, if you're looking to be small, if you're looking to be offended, you will find that constantly. And so be very careful what you set your mind towards, what your outcomes are, because you're going to find them. Your mind's powerful. You're powerful. You're more powerful than you think you are. And if you could just get clear on what you're looking for, get super specific with great clarity, great specificity about what it is you want, it's sitting there for you to find if you look for it. One of the things we have to do to create a new identity is to begin to tell a new story. What's your new story? Who are you now? What are you all about now? Where are you going now? What's this new version of you? See, here's what's amazing. At any point in your life, you can just decide to write a new script. You can decide to become a whole new character. See, the leading character in the story of your life is you. And guess what? You and God control the script. You could write a new script at any time you want. Listen to me. At any time you want, you can simply decide to be a new character. I'm strong now, I'm beautiful now, I'm handsome now, I'm bold now, I'm funny now, I'm smart now, I'm going there now. Stop telling the old story. Here's the truth, nobody cares. No one cares if you had a failure, no one cares if you've had a setback, no one cares if you had a victory, and none of those failures, none of those setbacks, none of those victories, and that old character you keep playing is the very thing that will prevent you from becoming this new version of you. It's a story if you're stuck. It's an old story you're telling with an old character that was last year's version, last decade's version. Who's the new character? What's the new script? What's the new story? Beliefs are so important to guard, because once you have a belief, your brain goes to work, and I've said this in another audio video, where your brain has to go to work to prove your beliefs to be true. Your brain literally goes to work on finding the evidence to prove you right. And so that identity, you're constantly reinforcing it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. If you believe a certain worth about yourself, a certain identity, that impacts the type of action you're willing to take. So if there's a goal you've got set, it doesn't matter what it is, pick a goal. To the extent that you believe it's consistent with your identity is to the extent that you will make an effort towards it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, however, because what happens is if your identity is here and the goal is there, you will only make an effort congruent with what you believe you're worth. And so that limited effort you make produces the result not consistent, and it reinforces the belief. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you set a goal that is inconsistent with an identity you're working on. You will only make an effort consistent with the identity, which will get you to here, doesn't produce the result, and it reinforces this belief you have about yourself. So it's important as you set new goals, as you set new visions, that you also upgrade your identity simultaneously. You're in process of upgrading it, because that identity impacts the effort you make, right? Impacts the will you put towards it, and that will is reinforced by the lack of result, and so it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. So your mind has this belief it wants to prove to be true, and it starts to find references. So if you believe you're 75 degrees, it's going to start finding legs to put under that table to make it immobile so it can't move to prove you right. And so our identity equals our effort, and the challenge is that effort produces the result. And so this identity has everything to do with the effort you make, which produces the result, which will reinforce the identity or the lack thereof. So it's critical that you upgrade identity with your new visions and goals. I don't really believe in this mentor stuff. I don't know that I buy into that. Like I don't think I influence you by you necessarily asking me questions and I answer them. Don't you find that too? Like almost sometimes people that want you to mentor them, they're almost interviewing you. And I think that's almost like a school teacher. So if you look at your kids, the people that influence them, their teachers influence them to a degree. That's like a mentor, right? Because they shape them and mold them, and there's influence there. But who do you really worry about? You worry about who their friends are. Because their friends, you show me their friends, I'll pretty much tell you who's influencing them. So I think what I do a decent job of is when I do get to know these folks, I don't treat them like they're some God figure, or they're any different than me or any better than me. I treat them like a friend. And I want to make them my friend.
You're talking about people that maybe have achieved something in a space above you.
They're constantly, Donovan was on your program earlier, he'll tell you, people constantly when you're in that environment treat you as if you're different than them or better than them. There's a million people like that. They're not any better than you. They haven't have a blessing and a skill or a set of facts and knowledge that's ahead of you. So make them your friend. That's how, like you and I, we're becoming friends. The way you're going to influence me, I'm going to have influence over you. We're going to have an interview today. We're going to learn some things, but really is our friendship, just associating, just being around each other. So I think probably the biggest thing is I've made them my real friends.
Okay. You want to know the truth? If you're going to have a long-term relationship with somebody, this is something people don't talk about ever, but I'll say it. You better stay attracted to them. You better have physical intimacy with them. And if you don't maintain that part of your relationship, like you keep dating, like, man, you start keeping it spicy all the time, physically, I'm talking about. What starts to happen over time is you start living with just your friend. And in most relationships, I have a lot of friends. I don't want to lay next to them every single day. Right? I got a bunch of really good friends that are male and female, and I don't want to be married to them. And if you allow your spouse to turn into just your friend, that you lose that intimacy, that physical connection. One of the keys, I would say, is I'm super attracted to her still. And I think she's incredibly for no reason whatsoever, miraculously attracted to me still. And so I think that's one part of your evaluation. How often do you touch each other? Do you hold each other's hands? At different stages of your relationship, physical intimacy can look different ways. I doubt at 80 years old, we're going to be doing what we do now, but I'm going to be dancing with her in the living room, I hope. When I was dating her, man, interesting thing. It was hard because her parents had a great marriage. It was their second marriage, which usually those are great. They're sometimes better because you figure stuff out, right? But every time I go pick her up for a date, not every time, that's not true, many times, when you'd walk up to her front door, you could see in their living room. And I get emotional in saying this, but I would walk up to the front door and I'd expect it almost after a while. I'd see Howard and Patricia, her mom and dad, slow dancing in the living room. and there's just music on, no TV. They would just dance together, slow. And I don't know what they were doing after that. I don't want to know. But the point I'm making to you is they kept it romantic. They kept physical intimacy in their relationship. And he was in his 70s and she was in her 60s. But they kept that going. It was such a good example for me because my parents, who were very much in love, never touched each other. I never saw them say, I love you. They weren't physical at all around us and didn't even touch us very often. I'm real conscious of always touching my kids and hugging them and always making sure they feel me. And so I think that's been one of the foundations of our deal. We do a date night once a week. So we're actually out doing something. And, we're very, very different people. She doesn't have an ambitious bone in her body, no achievement. She could have any clothing she wants. She wears jeans and a t-shirt. There's nothing about her that's that way, but she believes in me. She believes in me. And that's, people can love you and not really believe in you.
Yeah.
She believes in me. And that's always given me strength and confidence throughout all of our ups and downs or whatever they are. I feel like that's one of the great gifts is her belief in me.
I started Alibaba in 1999. I want to share something. First, we believe in the future. And I believe the internet can empower a lot of people. It's not Jack Ma helped so many people. It's the entrepreneurships, the spirit of creating, the spirit of constructive advice and device. And also very, very important is that we believe technology will help people for a better future. So we try to be creative. We try to solve problems. When people complain, we don't complain. We think about complaining of the other people is always a great opportunity. If we can solve the complaining and then we have the solutions, then we have the future. So we do Alibaba because we believe in there are so many small businesses don't know when and how, where they can sell the products. So we help them to promote their products. We have the payment because no banks at that time love to help small business and they don't know how to help a small business. We know if we don't have a payment, our e-commerce is just a talk on the line. It's just a chat online. So we have this payment. And then we find if we cannot help you to deliver efficiently and quickly, then there will be no way. So we build up the logistics system. And then we find a lot of companies don't know how to technology, especially small business. They don't know how to use the internet. The internet service is too expensive for them. So we say, all right, let's build up the cloud computing. So every small business can using cloud computing, internet technology cheaply and efficiently. So it's all about solving problems. So I think this is what we did in the past 20 years. We always think about what we can do to solve the social problems instead of complaining. That's the journey, and I'm having great fun. When you really help people, when you see millions of people change their lives because the efforts that we work together.
Being an entrepreneur is about taking risks, but it's about taking very calculated risks and being, protecting the downside. So I didn't quit my job selling fax machines until I had already invented the product. I was working on it at night and on the weekends for 2 years. I was driving around North Carolina where most hosiery was made, begging a bunch of manufacturing plants to help make it. And I didn't quit my job until I had already landed Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, and got a call from Oprah.
Just a typical day.
Then I was like, okay, I feel confident to quit, but I needed the income that was coming in and I needed my health care benefits. And I was working out of my apartment in Virginia Highlands, and I ran Spanx out of my apartment for 2.5 years. And it was crazy. I mean, I'd semi-trucks pulling up twice a week to this apartment, and my neighbors were like, what's happening? What's going on? But I was so conservative with my finances in the beginning. I was very scrappy, and still am really scrappy.
Failure and invention are inseparable twins. Everybody wants to be inventive. If you go talk to corporate America or any institution, actually, government agencies and so on, innovation is something to be proud of. People like invention. But the problem is they don't like failure. And you cannot have invention without failure. to know where, if you already know it's going to work, it's not an experiment. And only through experimentation can you get real invention. The most important inventions come from trial and error with lots of failure. And the failure is critical, and it's also embarrassing. And so that's why people, when we're kids, we always are doing trial and error, and we're never embarrassed. You know, you watch a little toddler, and they will try for hours to put a square peg in a round hole, and it never works. But it doesn't keep them from trying. And they try things like that, and that's how they learn. And we all have that when we're little, and then as we get older, somehow it's not as cool as you get older to fail and to fall down. It looks clumsy. And so we get in our grooves, we have a set of expertise and skills, it's kind of a comfort zone, and you have to constantly push yourself to say, no, I don't care about failure. In fact, I say at Amazon, we have to grow the size of our failures as the size of our company grows. We have to make bigger and bigger failures, because otherwise none of our failures will be needle movers. And so I would see it as a very bad sign over the long run if Amazon wasn't making larger and larger failures. And if you do that all along the way, that is going to protect you from ever having to make that big, kind of Hail Mary bet that you sometimes see companies make right before they fail and go out of existence.
Use your gifts, that's what you're really here to do, to illuminate the darkness in our world. So this is what I also know, that this moment in time, this is your time to rise. It is. Even though you can't go anywhere, you can't stand in line at Starbucks, you can't go to a party, you can't go to any place without, everywhere you turn, people are talking about how bad things are, how terrible it is. And this is what I know. The problem is everybody is meeting hysteria with more hysteria. And then we just are all becoming hysterical, and it's getting worse. What I've learned all these years is that we're not supposed to match it or even get locked into resisting or pushing against it. We're supposed to see this moment in time for what it is. We're supposed to see through it and then transcend it. That is how you overcome hysteria. And that is how you overcome the sniping at one another, the trolling, the mean-spirited partisanship on both sides of the aisle, the divisiveness, the injustices, and the out-and-out hatred. You use it. Use this moment to encourage you, to embolden you, and to literally push you into the rising of your life. And to borrow a phrase from my beloved mentor, Maya Angelou, just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like the hope springing high, you will rise.
Everything you do learn is cumulative. I mean, that doesn't mean that industries stay good forever or businesses stay good forever, but learning to think about business models. What I learned at 20 is useful to me now. What I learned at 25 is useful to me now. And so it's not a field that changes dramatically in terms of the underlying principles. It's like physics. I mean, there's underlying principles. Now they're doing all kinds of things with physics they weren't doing 50 years ago. But if you know if you got the principles, if you know what makes a good business, if you know what makes a good manager, if you know what makes a good product, and you learn that in one business, there is some transference to other businesses as you go along, and you learn what things you're not going to understand. I mean, knowing what to leave out is just as important as knowing what to focus on. And I don't think I can win every game. Somebody said, how do you beat Bobby Fischer? You play him any game except chess. So I don't play Bobby Fischer chess. And there's a lot of value to learning that over time and learning what you're good at and what you're not good at.
We have a lot of good people at SpaceX that, a lot of really talented people. In fact, I wonder, sometimes how we can make use of their talents in the best way, because I think we're often not using their talents in the best way. Yeah, but to the point of the question that was just asked, I want to make sure Tesla recruiting does not have anything that says requires university, because that's absurd. But there is a requirement of evidence of exceptional ability. Like, you just can't, if you're trying to do something exceptional, you must have evidence of exceptional ability. I don't consider going to college evidence of exceptional ability. In fact, ideally you dropped out and did something. I mean, obviously, we look at, Gates is a pretty smart guy, he dropped out. Jobs is pretty smart, he dropped out. Larry Ellison, smart guy, he dropped out. Obviously not needed.
So,
did Shakespeare even go to college? Probably not.
I didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. We grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter, because we were becoming something greater.
There's a concept that I don't want to be an icon. I want to be an idea. I want to represent an idea. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent magic, right? That you're in a universe and 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 only equals 4 if you accept that 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 is going to be what I want it to be. And there's a redemptive power that making a choice has, rather than feeling like you're at effect to all the things that are happening. Make a choice. You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. It's water. It wants to move and go around stuff, So for me, I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. And I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and it's hard to put into words, real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense, but I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
Difference between depression and joy, right? And I think it's purpose, right? It's like when you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. It's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it. Period. It's that simple.
I know who I am, and I know what I believe.
I know who I am, I know what I believe.
That's all I need to know.
And that's all I need to know. So from there, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we make the situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody and wanting to say something to people. The only thing that I can see, and you can never really look at yourself, the only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill, right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, you might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right? There's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm gonna die. It's really that simple, right? So let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. It's gonna be 2 options.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back in, or I'm gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. You know, he got the 2. God, he hustling, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams, that want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. There's no easy way around it. No matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't study, if you don't work really hard and dedicate yourself to being better every single day, you'll never be able to communicate with people.
I'm motivated by fear.
Fear.
You know?
Fear of what?
Fear of fear. I hate being scared to do something. I hate that feeling of the feeling that I had before I had a meeting with Quincy Jones, because it was really Quincy Jones and a guy named Benny Medina and Jeff Pollack came with the idea for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I hated being scared, you know, that I didn't want to even take the meeting. There were opportunities during when my first year as a rapper. Bill Cosby and the people on the Cosby Show had seen my music video and called me to
be a character
to come and try out for the Cosby Show. And just every time it was set up, for some reason I couldn't make it.
The fear of fear.
The fear. I just hated that being scared to do something. And I think what developed in my early days was the attitude that I started attacking things that I was scared.
I realized that to have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision. I want to be world class, and it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies. You know, I was Star Wars when I was young. I sat in a movie theater and watched Star Wars, and I just couldn't believe that movie made me feel like that, just floored and just stunned by the creativity. And I'm realizing that in order to move people in that way, in order to touch people in that way, you really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity.
Love this one. Fail early, fail often, fail forward. You know, it's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. You know, when you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure, and they use that the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that, you can't do that, until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment, and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward.
I got up the other day like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and I was just walking around like a zombie. I was like, I'm so tired. I heard the devil say, go back to sleep. I was like, yeah, you're right, I should go back to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I was like, bro, you on to something. You know what I'm saying? He's like, why you getting up this early? You already #1 in the world. You already #1 in the world, E. You already doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, E, you've been grinding it. Just go ahead, it's 3. And my body said, yo, E, what would you go back to sleep for? I said, I'm tired. My body said, you're not tired. I said, well, why would you say I'm not tired? He said, because you woke up without an alarm clock. You woke yourself up. So if you were tired, your body wouldn't let you get up. If you were tired, your body would make you sleep till 6. You got up, it's 3. No, what you don't want to do is the grind, but you're up. So do me a favor, Eric, you don't even have to do anything. You don't even have to work. You've been getting up at 3 so early in the morning, don't even worry about it. Just put your shoes on, and when you get on the treadmill, it's just gonna do it for you, because you've been doing it every day for 3 o'clock in the morning. For real. My body said, all you gotta do is put your shoes on. That's the hardest thing you gotta do. Just put your shoes on, and I'll do the rest. I can't put your shoes on for you, but put your shoes on, and then just go. And I just went, and I was walking I do the 11 incline, boy, and I was just walking for an hour, and I was just like, you know what, it's almost an hour, I don't feel like running. My body was like, don't even worry about it, we'll get to that when we get to it. I did my hour, was about to get off, my body was like, you know we run now. I said, what? We run now, let's go. You ain't tired? I said, I am tired. No, you're not, you just walked for an hour. You're not tired, Eric. Your brain is telling you some dumb stuff. If you were tired, you wouldn't have been able to walk for an hour. Okay, so let's do this. Just run for 2 minutes. I'm trying to help somebody right now go to a whole other level. The Bible says the reason why you go back to sleep is because you've always gone back to sleep. It's like a default. You go back to sleep because all you gotta do is stop going to sleep, and then you're gonna stop going to sleep. All you gotta do is stop fussing and cussing, and you're gonna stop fussing and cussing.
When that alarm clock goes off, there's at least 50% of the time where you just, that soft little pillow is just caressing your head and you wanna stay there. And it takes discipline to go, nope, I'm gonna get up out of this bed and I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. And that discipline that you have at that moment, you win that fight. That's a big victory. And then that pattern will carry out throughout the day, because once you're up, well, now that I'm up, I might as well go work out because I'm already up and I feel good that I got up out of bed and I won that battle. Let me go win another battle. I'm gonna go get it done. And then when you show up at the office and there's someone that's got a big box of donuts that they're giving away for free, by the way, so they're just sitting there. It's almost like an insult not to take them. But when you've already gotten up early, you had the discipline there, you already worked out, you had the discipline there, and now you see the box of donuts, you're like, no, I'm not gonna eat the donuts. No donuts. You're not gonna do it. And that discipline carries on throughout the day. So now you take that and you expand that out over a week and a month, and you end up with more discipline. And it starts with that simple act of getting up and getting out of bed in the morning.
They're good habits. Why would you not wake up at 4:30?
Well, what does this bring to you?
Waking up early, you just get a jump on the day. The reason I wake up at 4:30 in the morning is because no one else is awake yet. So that gives me the opportunity to do things that I need to get done kind of selfishly for myself. And the big one in that category is working out. And it doesn't feel good at 4:30 when you get up, but by the time 7 o'clock rolls around and you've already worked out and you've already gotten some work done and you've got some time to say goodbye to your kids before they go to school, it's infinitely better than sleeping in until 6:45 and you get out of bed and now you missed your kids going to school or whatever. You're not prepared for the day. It's awful.
Has to do with waking up. Now, when you think about being productive, you got a big day and you got a bunch of stuff you need to get done. Most of us focus on when. When do I need to get up in order to get everything done? That's not what you need to focus on. The thing that really impacts your productivity is how. How do you wake up? And here's the deal. If you're somebody like I used to be that hits the snooze button, that kills your productivity for at least 4 hours. Let me explain. You have to understand this. The snooze button creates a mental state, a state in your brain that is called sleep inertia. It's so bad it actually has a name. Here's what it is. When you and I go to bed, we sleep in cycles. We sleep in cycles of like 90 to 110 minutes all night long. And right before you wake up, the sleep cycles, they stop and your body goes into a wake-up mode, okay? Your brain is starting to slowly wake up so that it can start the day. When your alarm goes off, you're in wake-up mode. Your brain is now ready to do its best work. However, if the alarm goes off and you hit the snooze button, guess what you've just done? You've just made your brain go back into a sleep cycle. Your brain is now in a mode that takes about 90 to 110 minutes to complete. You just rebooted the system. So when your alarm goes off and you get up 15 minutes later, you're now in major trouble. And the reason why you're in trouble is because your brain is still locked into a sleep cycle. And this is where sleep inertia comes in. You know how when you hit the snooze button, you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I did not get enough sleep last night. You feel so groggy. You kind of feel like this mental hangover. That is sleep inertia. Here's the deal. Your brain, the cortic region of your brain, which is responsible for decision making, attention, alertness, self-control, that sucker is still in a sleep cycle. And now that you're awake, it's going to take the cortical region almost 4 hours to actually snap out of that sleep cycle. That's why you feel groggy. It's because the part of your brain that's responsible for critical thinking and being alert, it's actually still asleep. If you don't already do this, you've got to train yourself to be the kind of person that doesn't use the snooze alarm. Because when you hit the snooze alarm, you're not only putting your brain in a state of sleep inertia, you are directly impacting your productivity, your alertness, and your brain processing for the first 4 hours that you're awake. That's making life harder. I'm all about making life easier. So tomorrow, when the alarm goes off, I don't care how tired you are, I don't care how much you don't want to get out of bed, I want you to remember this. I want you to remember that you've got to wake up and give your brain its best shot to do its best work. And the way you're going to do it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn off that alarm and get up. Seize the day and go be productive.
When you wake up in the morning, your willpower is strongest. When you wake up in the morning, you've got a full well of mental focus, and we know that focus in our world is even more valuable than intelligence. And I could go on the benefits. I mean, you get up at 5 a.m., you've got the world to yourself. There's no crowds. You can think, you can plan, you can care for yourself in a world where so many people are so depleted. And so the 5 a.m. club really is a game changer. And then it's not just get up at 5 a.m. and scratch your stomach or stare up at the ceiling.
Or look at your phone.
Or look at, especially not. I believe you can play with your phone or change the world. You don't get to do both.
Yeah.
And so the 5 a.m. club method is based on the 20-20-20 formula. I'm happy to get into it, but that is
tell us what it is.
That's the revolutionizer, and it started from my experience with working with many billionaires. I've coached many of the most successful financiers and titans of industry for over 2 decades. And one of the things I would run them through is the way you begin your day sets up the way you live your day. And so the 20-20-20 formula that the book is based upon is pretty simple. I go into great detail in the book, but essentially it's from 5 to 5:20. The first pocket is move. And I'm a fanatic about neuroscience, and Why do you get up and move? Because you're going to release serotonin, which is going to make you feel better. You're going to release dopamine, which is the pleasure and inspirational neurotransmitter. You're going to release norepinephrine, which will boost your focus. You'll promote neurogenesis. Marie, you can actually grow new brain cells.
Oh,
You're
hell
going to
yeah,
increase
you
your
can.
metabolic rate. So the way you feel when you first wake up is not the way you're going to feel at 5:20. Second pocket of the 20-20-20 formula, 20 minutes from 5:20 to 5:40, that's on reflection. So a lot of us are busy, but what's the point of being busy if you're doing the wrong things? The billionaires, the great creatives, the people of great impact, the people who live beautiful lives are very intentional. They're very deliberate, they're very conscious. So for 20 minutes, you write in a journal, you can visualize, you can pray, you can meditate, you can simply contemplate how you're going to live your day, what you want to stand for during the day, for example. And then the final pocket of the 20-20-20 formula is all about grow. And that's where you just read from a biography or a business book or a philosophy book or a...
Or watch a Marie TV.
Well, especially watching Marie TV. That's, yeah, of course. That's the game changer, isn't it? And so that's 20 minutes of growing because I think we're most alive when we are growing.
Yes.
And I believe the leader who learns the most wins.